Successful year-round fuel storage and equipment operation with modern fuels. Innospec Fuel Additives is a global company solely focused on fuel and fuel additive technology. We develop and market products to improve cleanliness, efficiency, safety, and reduce emissions and maintenance costs of engines, boilers, and gas turbines. We'll improve any fuel based on oil, coal, or biofuel. It's interesting to note that 36% of all our sales came from new products developed within the last 5 years. By the end of this presentation, you'll understand why. Innospec are active members on numerous committees, task force leaders, and research teams that direct fuel quality and standards. We are also on the advisory committees of several government agencies. By the end of this presentation, we hope you have a better understanding of how much money is spent needlessly by not using premium fuels. Consider saving 5 cents per gallon on 1,000,000 gallons of fuel is $30,000. Sounds like a lot of money, until you understand what that nickel saved is costing you. As a business owner, you know that finding growth, security, and prospering with all the volatility and uncertainty in today's markets is more difficult than ever before in history. Profits are eroded by rising costs, spending ability is diminished, and customers ask, "What have you done for me today?" Businesses that succeed today understand that success is three things: spotting and take advantage of opportunities, passionately supporting what you know works, and changing what does not work before it chews into your profits. So how did we get here? What's happened? What is so different about ultra-low sulfur diesel that's costing me more money? And most important, how do I protect myself and my assets? So what got us here? It was the Clean Air Act. The who is the EPA. What happened? We removed a lot of sulfur from the fuel. Diesel now contains less than 15 parts per million sulfur. That took place back in 2006. Where? The United States, although sulfur reduction is occurring globally. And the why? The Clean Air Act is intended to give us clean air, and in general this is a really good idea. However, as with all good intentions, there are unintended consequences. Up until a few years ago, we had a fairly simple fuel pool. Most fuels were simple distillation cuts of crude oil, and the legislation moved them to more refined fractionations. Gasoline was only complicated by the use of lead, which is now being phased out, and the addition of oxygenates such as MTBE, which are also being phased out. But this simple life has come to an end, and the world's getting more complex. Already in the past few years, and into the current time frame, we've seen widespread introduction of both ethanol and ETBE, ethyl tertiary butyl ether, as extenders for gasoline. Not economic extenders, but enticed into the fuel pool by politicians who want to see moves on climate change and/or energy security. There have been few mandates until recently, so this has been small so far, but the growth is on us now. Ethanol in gasoline and biofuels in diesel have created some unwelcome changes. Fuel additives are the key to successful operation. They are introduced at refineries, terminals, and locally to keep fuel fit for purpose, enhance certain fuel properties such as cetane, and meet specifications like lubricity and conductivity. Fuel quality significantly impacts operations profitability. Existing fuel specifications do not address a number of potential problems. Current standards may not be sufficient enough to ensure trouble-free operations. Addressing contaminants in housekeeping is more critical now than ever before. Molds and microorganisms exist on the planet to decompose once living things, like leaves or crude oil, into nutrients for other plants or animals. Let's look closer at what goes on inside your storage tank. It's a simple formula for problems to occur. A drop of water is adequate, but usually we find more than that in the system. The mix of microbes and some pristine quality fuel, and the right conditions, you get more than you expected. Note the biomass in the middle of the sample. Microbes in this mass are busy generating waste that will cause operational problems and rapidly corrode equipment. As with all living organisms, microbes consume nutrients and make waste. In this case, the main concern is the acidic waste products. In the real world, these acids will migrate from the water phase through the fuel and up into the vapor space above the fuel. This is why we see corrosion in almost every place in the fuel system. The bad news is that you'll keep going around this circle of life circle until you take appropriate action. And it doesn't take long for the problem to reoccur. This amount of sediment came back in less than 1 year. The expense for this one incident seems quite high, considering it's avoidable. Additives play an important role during winter months. As the days get colder and the temperature drops, wax begins to precipitate out of diesel fuel and can quickly plug a fuel filter. The proper use of anti-gel will keep fuel liquid. Note the fuel at the left is solid. Anti-gel has kept the fuel in the center liquid, but the wax was settled to the bottom. A good winter additive will not only keep the fuel liquid, but also keep the wax from settling to the bottom of the tank, where it will be sucked up into the fuel filter and cause more problems. We all know that water freezes at 32 degrees. We see it on the ice on the trees. We don't think about it in our fuel tanks. A good quality winter additive will also address water issues. Gradually removing water and lowering the temperature at which that water freezes are critical to winter operability. During winter months, filters plugged with biodiesel are often mistaken for fuel gelling. Most engine manufacturers support the use of biodiesel, but either recommend or require the use of additives when doing so. Modern fuel injection technologies are designed to facilitate compliance with ever more stringent emission targets. Smaller orifices and tighter tolerances inside the injectors, coupled with greatly increased fuel rail pressures, up to 40,000 psi, are required to meet these emission targets. The modern injection system combined with ultra-low sulfur diesel has created the perfect storm, and equipment operators are experiencing shortened fuel filter life, power loss, fuel economy loss, as well as EGR and DPF issues. Under the high temperatures and pressures in the fuel system, ultra-low sulfur diesel produces small carbon deposits that damage and interfere with proper injector operation, causing a domino effect of issues downstream. Unfortunately, these particles are very small, less than 1 micron. Filtration is not effective, even at the tight standards engine manufacturers require today. The injectors are electronically controlled to open and close multiple times per combustion cycle to deliver the fuel precisely when and how much fuel is needed. Unused fuel then travels back to the fuel tank with the particles. One of the first symptoms is a black sooty material prematurely plugging fuel filters and is visually seen. Because the issues are created in the injector, all engine manufacturers are susceptible to this problem. It's become increasingly more prevalent in ultra-low sulfur diesel over the past few years and becomes more of an issue with greater percentages of biofuels. Engine manufacturers understand the importance of well-formulated additives and their benefits. In most cases, they support the use of reputable additives. I'm sure you're asking yourself, is this problem new? The problem has evolved slowly over several years, and our maintenance practices, like changing fuel filters every 30,000 miles, have slowly changed with it. Most fleets now change filters every 10,000 miles and don't even realize the problem is correctable or how much these extra filters are costing them. We have seen deposits on the injector needle, the demand control piston, and on the pressure pin. These shooting channels, seen here in the needle seat, can cause overfueling, misfiring, dramatic loss of power, fuel economy, and emissions, as well as injector drift, all which are costing your fleet thousands of dollars a day. Fuel quality and tank maintenance is the difference between success and failure. High-temperature antifoulants developed from jet fuel stabilizers and tank maintenance additives come together to form EcoClean, an additive package that prevents deposits, cleans existing deposits, and maintains fuel in storage. EcoClean Winter combines the money-saving properties of EcoClean and the InnoSpec winter operability chemistries to form a simple, year-round fuel program that will keep your fleet operating effectively and efficiently. You can see the value. Just by extending your fuel filter change interval to 30,000 miles will offset the cost of the EcoClean. Injector, EGR, DPF, and fuel economy savings go directly to your bottom line. You can see the power of EcoClean. The two filters on the left, without EcoClean, have less than 10,000 miles in service. The filter on the right is brand new, still in the cellophane. Next to it, a filter after 30,000 miles using EcoClean. To keep your equipment running trouble-free, sign up for the PPC fuel testing program, incorporate good housekeeping practices into your daily schedule, and use EcoClean.